You see her as a devoted mother, a powerful matriarch, someone who does whatever it takes to protect her family. That's why the story of Donna Adelson is both horrifying and painfully relatable. Because when protecting a loved one becomes an obsession, you can cross every moral boundary without realizing you've fallen into something darker. What actually happened? Start by laying out the facts. In 2025, a 75-year-old Florida grandmother, long seen as a pillar of her community, was convicted of planning the murder for hire of her daughter's ex-husband, a law professor who was shot dead in his garage in 2014. The victim was caught in a bitter custody battle. He opposed relocating with their children to South Florida, where the mother, Adelson's daughter, wanted to move. Prosecutors presented email evidence and testimony suggesting that the matriarch orchestrated the plot, spending over $100,000 and working with her own son, his girlfriend, and hired gunmen to carry it out. She evaded arrest for nearly a decade before getting apprehended in 2023 while attempting to flee to Vietnam on a one-way ticket. A jury convicted her of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation. She now faces the possibility of life in prison. New York Post, AP News. That's the brutal truth. When love becomes obsession, at first glance, Donna Adelson just looked like any other fiercely loving mother, a Jewish matriarch, well-off, refined, generous with her family. She helped raise her grandchildren. She helped finance her daughter's legal battles. She showed up to holidays, family photos, backyard barbecues, but behind closed doors, something else was brewing. Her daughter's ex-husband, Dan Markel, wasn't just an inconvenience. He was the obstacle. The man who kept her daughter tied to a city she hated. The man who fought to keep the kids in Tallahassee. The man who wouldn't let them go back to Miami. Back to the Adelsons. So Donna didn't just get upset, she got obsessed. She wrote emails like business memos, strategizing, calculating, telling her daughter she couldn't enjoy her life until the problem was taken care of. They called it the plan. It was cold, deliberate, no heat of the moment impulse, just slow burning contempt. This wasn't just about love anymore. It was control disguised as protection. The dangerous psychology of good intentions. We think of evil as loud, impulsive, monstrous, but in this case, it was neat, domestic, padded in cashmere. What we're seeing in Donna isn't just rage or grief or even revenge. It's over-identification. Psychologists call this enmeshment when a parent sees their child's pain as their own, when their identity fuses with their offspring's, and suddenly, the parent can't tell where they end and their child begins. Donna wasn't just fighting for her daughter's happiness, she was fighting for her own validation, for her control over how the story ended. She couldn't stand to be challenged by a man she saw as intellectually arrogant, morally rigid, and worst of all, powerful enough to say no. So she did what many controlling people do when faced with opposition. She tried to erase it. When loyalty turns into moral collapse. You don't wake up one day and decide to orchestrate a hit. It happens slowly. It starts with gossip, then bitterness, then justification, then action. Donna offered money, coordinated contacts, recruited her own son. She didn't wear a mask or carry a weapon, but she pulled every string, all because she believed she was saving her daughter's life. But here's the irony no one talks about. In trying to protect her family, she destroyed it. She traumatized her grandchildren. She weaponized her son. She dragged her daughter into scandal. She ripped the moral foundation out from under everything they stood for. And worst of all, she became the villain in the very story she thought she was rewriting. Why this could happen to anyone? You may be thinking, that would never be me. But loyalty is seductive. It disguises itself as love. It tells you that you're noble for defending someone's pain, that you're brave for stepping in, that you're justified in bending the rules because you're doing it for the right reasons. And before you know it, you're making excuses. You're bending truth. You're choosing silence over confrontation. You're cutting corners, You're enabling, protecting, justifying. That's how it begins. Maybe not with a murder, but with silence, with complicity, with looking away. How to protect without losing yourself. If you're someone who deeply loves their people, who would go to war for them, this next part is for you. Here's how to stay loyal without losing your soul. Check your motivations. Are you helping or controlling? Are you supporting or enabling? Let your loved ones struggle. Pain builds character. Trying to fix everything for them may be more about you than them. Set moral boundaries that don't bend for blood. Just because someone is family doesn't mean they get a pass. Loyalty without integrity is just corruption in nice clothing. Get outside perspective. When your world gets too small, your sense of right and wrong can shrink with it. Talk to people who won't just say yes. Donna Adelson thought she was doing the right thing. She convinced herself that it was for the kids, for her daughter, for the family. She thought loyalty was enough. But loyalty without conscience is how monsters are born. So if you ever find yourself at a crossroads, where protecting someone you love means violating your own moral compass, remember this. True loyalty doesn't ask you to destroy others, it asks you to rise above. And if you're protecting someone, make sure you're not protecting them from accountability. Because sometimes the greatest act of love is letting someone face the truth.